Okay, hello everybody, and welcome on back to Minecraft Musings Oasis Season 3. Alright, we started to talk about politics and religion, and why they're all trying to do similar things, and they're all getting confused and misunderstood for more than one reason, so accidentally and intentionally. Now, let's start with politics. So, Republicans and Democrats are the two main political parties here in the US. Now, all of the people in the US, almost all of them, like 90% of everybody in the US, is not really representative of our country. Now, what I mean by that is our country fights a lot of wars, goes and blows up a lot of things, kills a lot of things. But even if you look at the people actually doing those things in our military, and really got to the bottom of it, none of them want to be out there doing it. It's a good job or it's a good glory to serve the country, but like, did they wake up that day and want to kill somebody? No. I mean, it's an acceptable evil of an acceptable job that our society kind of forces into it. And why is that? Because we have a lot of weapons factories and munitions makers and all this that are left over from World War II. Now, or just the idea. Halliburton, specifically, which is pretty much like the reason 9/11 happened. Like, okay, and my personal opinion is it was at least orchestrated by our government or even our own government people. But even if it wasn't, apologies if it wasn't, and that's not disrespecting all the people that died that day, I just see it as more plausible, more feasible. It makes more sense in my head that our country, which relies on military spending and military budgets, would require. Sorry, I also forgot what I was making that wood for. Sticks. There we go. Sticks to make torches. All the way back. But anyways, I think it's more logical that we would fake something like that and then blame it on somebody else just so we could attack somebody. And because the idea is, oh, there's a bunch of countries over there like, oh wait, they're Islamic, like, or they do the jihad, like, oh, perfect, like we just got done with a 20-year or well, no, sorry, that's what started the 20-year war that had almost a 500,000 civilian casualties, almost as much that died from COVID that caused all the ruckus here. What do you know? That's how many innocent people that didn't care one way or the other. I mean, probably didn't like us because we were bombing the crud out of their hometown, but like, they didn't want to be involved. Like, they didn't want any of that. So my point is we're all humans, we're all people out there, and like, that's the most important step to trying to solve problems in any capacity, local or global. Sorry, local or global problems. Also, we need sticks, which are here. Let's go ahead and just make that into torches right here, and not levers. I've done that before. All right, let's see. So, but anyways, it's just part of the ways that we're going to be solving these problems is by understanding what's really going on. So, let's go ahead and deposit some more of these torches here because I did not realize that I had so many of these. And let's delete the sticks and that. Why not? But anyways, because even people that consider themselves pretty tolerant of other cultures and people could be manipulated to become bloodthirsty and violent towards those people. And we're seeing a lot of that right now. Like, normal people that you would never think would have a violent bone in their body or whatever are now like angrily speaking out one way or another. And it doesn't even have to be angrily too. Like, if you just support um, one side or the other, you can be seen as, or if you just don't care, having no voice is also kind of dangerous in this to a bit. So I don't know. It's all a big mess. But part of the reason why stuff like this is so important to get to the bottom of, like, what we need to figure this out. And speaking of politics and stuff, that's like one of the big things that we're trying to fix for America. Like, we are so torn because of our media, and the way our elections are. Sorry. So the quickest way to fix that is to ban money from campaigning. Like, you can no longer spend any money, period. You cannot spend money on a campaign. You can't, like, you have to do it from a Zoom call, from home or whatever, from the comfort of your own home. And you know how much money that would save every city, every state? Because let me break it down for you. So every time a president or even a presidential candidate, I mean, except for Robert Kennedy Jr. apparently, and that's caused a bunch of controversy. He doesn't get protection, but um, they get Secret Service. They get people that get paid money, like a salary, which is great. I'm glad they have a job, but they get paid to follow these people around on the campaign trail and make sure they don't get killed. Like, that's such a waste of money when they could just sit at home, do like I'm doing here, talk comfortably, and get their point across more effectively. And so that's the thing. A lot of it's not meant to be effect or to make sense. It's razzle dazzle to try to confuse and trick people into voting and supporting stuff that they didn't realize they're supporting. And that's very broad, but like, okay, let's look at the abortion issue. You know how you fix abortion? Offer free healthcare to everybody. Boom, problem solved. People don't need to go get abortion, or at least not as much. The majority of people, if they could afford healthcare or the education on how to practice safe acts, still trying to keep it PG in case kiddos watch this, but um, I mean, it is Minecraft. It is basically kind of like it could be considered a kid's game, but I swear this is like one of my favorite games. It's so relaxing, so cerebral. And anyways, my point is if you had free healthcare, all right, I mean, it doesn't even have to be free. It could be like you still have to pay in a certain amount of your paycheck, which we do. We pay in tons. I realized the other day, like, you know, well over $1,000 goes to the government from my paycheck every month, and it's like, so yeah, I am kind of paying for some of this stuff that I'm talking about. Sorry, that's me arguing with like some of my friends back home, like, because I also at the same time I took some time on unemployment, so I was one of those the bottom feeders, the people that have to rely on handouts and blah blah blah. And really, and a lot of that's what we're saying in our own head too. It's the pride thing, and like, well, I don't want to be seen or caught dead, like, accepting help. Well, I did. I was at a breaking point in my life. I was like, I'm so tired of all this. Like, I've been working hard, learning and all this. Like, I just need a break. And so I did. I took a break, went back to school, spent another 10,000 I didn't have. But I mean, the point is, I got a very good job out on the other side of that. Got a lot of help mentally and physically. Well, not physically so much. I went to the gym a lot still, but my point is I was allowed that reprieve. I was allowed that break to kind of get my stuff together, get my life figured out, and go try again. And that's what a lot of people need is like a little reset button for at least like parts of their life. Like, okay, now try it again, because otherwise they're just being dragged along in a very miserable state of things, or potentially miserable state of things. So I don't know. Mental health is important, and that's great to say, but you also need to be able to point at, okay, well, what do we do to fix mental health? Oh, well, here's what you can do. So I don't know why we're cutting down more wood. I was just kind of, I think we need to focus on the garden, but what we need to do is feed this thing. So wait, actually, I just dropped a bunch of, yeah, these things, sugarcane. Let's have that going so we can have the bone meal. Yeah, one bone meal. All right, and then we can help our crops that way. So, and then just kind of do a wandering around and collect more of these sugar canes. So, anyways, projects. So, how do you fix it? Well, first, it's communication. How do you fix? First, you got to fix religion and politics, and you do that. You're not going to fix it completely, but you can at least make some progress and fix some of it by just communicating, understanding what was really being said. Now, a specific thing that I've been kind of trying to do lately is convince the Pope to say not only is weed okay, it's actually a safer alternative to alcohol. And we've been experimenting with that ever since the Prohibition days here in America, because we did at one point have or sorry, alcohol was illegal. We had speakeasies, which were little like bars that were holes in the walls, that like secret bars, where you could go to get some alcohol, and but it was illegal. And then, for all of my lifetime, that was weed or cannabis or marijuana, whatever you want to call it, which is actually or reefer madness, like the propaganda was. Up until recently, it was like using speakeasies to use cannabis. And most of the time you smoke it, sometimes you can eat it, but basically it's the ganja, what the Rastafarians are all about down in Jamaica. And I actually went to Jamaica for my senior trip. My buddy and I went down there, and we used a lot of cannabis. Oh my gosh. And it was still technically illegal there, I'm pretty sure, but you had to be sketchy about it. You couldn't go to a store and get it. So, and then here in America, you know, I know people that told me that, oh yeah, there was the staff in the halfway house as they were taking my UA, which is a urine analysis, so you pee in a cup to show them that you're not doing drugs or using substances. Um, and by the way, there's substance use and substance abuse, and alcohol is the number one substance that is abused and that is easily abused because it's easily accessible and all that stuff. But anyways, he was saying that the halfway house staff as they were dealing with the UA thing, were looking through a magazine at what kind of weed they were going to buy from the dispensary. They had a catalog of marijuana, and some of the people in that halfway house were there for marijuana. Like, and so, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I fully support that those guys were looking through those magazines and like that is awesome. Like that needs to happen more so. And then we need to empty out all the people that are in jail and prison. Well, really, all of them anyway, because there are better ways to go about fixing people. And that's what we're trying to do with it. It's called the Department of Corrections for a reason. It's meant to correct people that have shown undesired traits or behavior. So much so to where it's broken laws, where it's actually like calculable that it is worthy of being punished by, XYZ, which is the rather unfortunate state of things. We have, and that's an understatement, we have people sitting in prison for like entire chunks of their life, like a third of their life, a quarter of their life. Like, we think, oh, high school, your high school experiences, that's intense. That's a lot of learning, a lot of growing. Well, that's 4 years. And then your college experience. Okay, now you're looking at 4 to 5, unless you're like me and you weren't really sure what you're doing and you took a few tries at it. I spent almost a decade going to school and racking up a bunch of debt, paying a lot of it too. I've paid tens of thousands of dollars already, and I still owe tens of thousands. But anyways, my point being is, well, I don't really have a point with that one. Let's see, where were we trying to talk with that? Sorry, sometimes I kind of lose it. Well, let's talk about that. So, the biggest way that we fix the world's problems is we try to reduce the cost of living by making as much as we can free or cheap. That's it. And we do that through communication. We do that through properly understanding each other, properly understanding problems that we're trying to solve, properly understanding when solutions are working or when they're actually costing us more or whatever the case may be. And again, that's very generalized, but that's basically it. Like communication or lack thereof is the cause of most of the problems in our world today. Like that's fact. So, I mean, and I say that from having done a lot of troubleshooting with IT and finding that almost all tech problems are of a certain nature with certain remedies with certain, it's like there's a certain way that fixes most problems too, or causes problems as well. And once you start recognizing these patterns, and the same could be said for law enforcement. And now law enforcement and morality too, because those are very similar. At least the goals are very similar. Because talking to the Pope about trying to get him to say cannabis is okay, and actually cannabis is safer than the blood of Christ. Ah, see, that's why I bring up the Pope. Because, like I said in the last episode, I'm not a practicing Christian, but the Pope is in charge of Catholicism and basically Christianity. Indirectly or directly, he calls the shots. One guy, one focal point. So, okay, if you're going to try to convince the religious zealots of the U.S., the Baptists, like because they're some of the worst, like the most devout followers, like um, specifically Westboro Baptists, like they hate LGBTQ, like they literally hate gay people and want them to die and all this. And like they've, not all of them, but like there have been enough that have spoken out and represented Westboro Baptist Church to where it's like, okay, that's an easy one to point out. But you're right, it's not fair. Other me. Because I gotta act like this video might be seen by someone from the Westboro Baptist Church, and I don't want them to be like, hey, that's not fair. So, my point being is, religion needs to have some tweaks. Religion needs to have some edits. The Bible, especially. I mean, even just the way that it's phrased, like the accidental patriarchy of why do we have a man pope? Why have we not have a woman pope? I mean, are women any less intelligent? Like any less ethical? I mean, when you talk ethics, women on average are way more ethical than men. It's because their brains are wired differently. Like it is a biological fact that women have a more nurturing, like and I'm not trying to offend anybody because whenever I get into this discussion with some family members, they start being like, hold on now, and they project some insecurities that they have because society has a lot of ugly around that. But what I'm saying is, the way that the biology of a woman giving birth and like raising the kids, and that's just been so the problems that they have to solve are more aligned to that. Now men have to help procreate, but then also like they got to go get the food. I mean, for all the years up until recently, like it's been the man's job to like, okay, and maybe it could have just been because they had idle time. Like the man's job in procreation is very short and very easy. Like I mean, they don't have to grow the human or anything. Like they just anyway, sorry, without getting too much details, because there are probably kids watching this, so let's be careful about that. But anyways, um, so the problem sets, the problems that people are trying to solve, like the tasks that they need to do on their day to day, like, are different for men and different for women. I mean, now they're getting closer to the same, and that's awesome. Like, we're getting equality, whatever that means too. I feel like, once we get to a point where nobody feels like truly feels that they're being oppressed, and I guess you could get that by like there's still examples of women getting paid less than men. So once you get to a point where you cannot find any examples of that men are getting paid more than women just because they're men, like mind you, now there could be reasons like, well, maybe they have a degree and the other one doesn't. So okay, well, that's not a man versus woman issue. And then you got everything in between. Sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody who's trying to transition. That's totally fine. But I'm more with the South Park explanation of transgender is like, you're not going to completely, at least not yet, science isn't there. You're not going to completely become the other one that you're trying to become. It's not just like flipping a switch. And South Park has an episode where Gerald, Kyle's dad, the lawyer, the Jewish lawyer, never mind that. They address a lot of Jewish issues too. Um, he wants to become a dolphin. And now that might seem ridiculous, but the concept is very similar. Like, you want to use science and medicine to change who and what you are to something completely different. Something that shouldn't. I mean, it still happens in nature. Like, sexes change. I can't think of any examples right off the top of my head, but like there are, or marijuana, cannabis plants. There you go. They have male and female plants, but they can change. In fact, they call them hermaphrodite plants or the hermaphrodites, and that I feel like I haven't heard that word for a long time. It might be offensive, and I apologize if it is, but it's not my intent to offend anyone. But to set realistic expectations too, because in the South Park episode, Gerald underwent the surgery to become a dolphin, and they even say in there, it's like, well, no, you're still a human. You're just made to look like a dolphin. This is a cosmetic procedure. It's cosmetics, meaning in looks only, like not functional or biologically like changing. Now, granted, as I say that, there are hormones, there are testosterone and estrogen and like medicines that they've developed where you can start taking them, and you will start to develop traits that are similar to the desired gender that you're trying to become. Although I'd say the desired sex that you're trying to become, because I feel like there are only two sexes and then everything in between. But genders, there are tons, like different ways. Because I feel gender is more, and I could be totally wrong. I mean, I might be upsetting some people here, but gender is more like the Hydras in India. They are actually males, like they have male parts, but they act as close as they can to more of a female role. Like they want to try to do the things that a woman would do in that society. And it's very bad luck, or something. I think it was how it was explained to me in anthropology. But like, it's bad luck to offend the Hydras. You need to let them do their thing, but it's kind of like an annoyance, but like a necessary annoyance to a lot of people over there. It's like, and to the person trying to do that stuff, even that's really offensive. Like they're out there trying to try something new and try to live a different lifestyle, and people are just kind of looking down upon it and judging it and being like, oh well, you probably shouldn't do that. Like, and that's not fair. Like, you should still let them try to figure out, but at the same time, you need to let them know you're not going to be a dolphin. At least not yet. Now, you could get very close, actually, I should say, because with those, what are they like? Geez, damn this. I don't really like talking about that a whole lot because I actually do have someone in my family that is transitioning, and I fully support her. I think is how. But see, and that's the thing that causes friction because then you have to like slow down and stop, and you got to thing, and then and I don't know. My personal experience is like same with speaking English in a foreign country that doesn't speak English or foreign to us. Sorry. It's disrespectful to not even try to speak the language. But at the same time, a lot of the people you're going to be interacting with know that you're not going to speak like a poet. You're not going to be very well versed in their language because you're not used to their language. And so a lot of times, and when I was in Costa Rica, I noticed this a lot people, as long as I was like making an effort to speak the Spanish, like they'd smile and be like, "Okay, huh, you sound like a total idiot, but here you go. This is what I think you were trying to say." And they didn't say it like that, but like that's basically what they meant. Like, "Oh, look at you. You're so dumb. All right, here we go. Let me help you. Let me help out this dumb dumb here." And like, and some of that's projection too. Like, it is embarrassing to not be able to communicate effectively in another place. Like, and you're trying to not look like an idiot and not try to be offensive and all this. Well, the same could be said about pronouns. Now, that is a completely foreign concept to a lot of the red states, a lot of the red areas. I mean, it's getting better, but the fact is Buena Vista up in the middle of Colorado does not have a lot of LGBTQ, let alone transgender. And actually, I think that is the T in LGBT is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. Yeah, there you go. So like all of it's trying to encompass all of the groups, you know, technically minorities, because like there's still the smaller subgroups of humanity that can be identified as such. Basically, dealing with reproduction. That's all that is. A lot of reproduction and identity is what you're really kind of like figuring out there. So I don't know. And then it's also the lack of patience. So that's how we get a lot of our friction, a lot of the problems, is because people don't have patience, and myself included too. Like I was just saying, like I kind of lose patience, especially when people start to get angry, and when I'm trying to like I'm trying to make an effort to like understand it. That's when I'm just like, okay, look here, like that's when I lose my patience. I'm like, you know what, you can't have all of this, and it's not fair to other people because it's the same argument for religion. You cannot impose your religion or your beliefs on other people forcefully. You just can't. It's not fair. Now, you can encourage them to, and sorry, this kind of triggered me earlier because I saw this Facebook post about autism. And it's like, here's a pro tip, or here's how you should approach somebody that comes out and says to you, hey, I'm autistic. And the first reaction, apparently the wrong answer is like, oh yeah, I know someone in my family that's autistic. And when I read that, I was like, that's exactly what I would do. I would try to show some personal relation to the topic and be like, oh yeah, but then, and I can see how that can become offensive because then you might generalize like, oh yeah, I already know somebody. That's the whole I'm not racist, I have a black friend type concept. And that happens a lot in the US. It's like, oh, I can't be racist, I have a black friend. Like, what are you talking about? And so, which and that's, I could almost say the same thing. Like, I wasn't anti-Middle Eastern or anti-Muslim because I had Muslim friends growing up. Well, I didn't know that. I mean, I was dating a half Jewish girl, but that still celebrated Jewish holidays and Christian holidays because dad was Christian, mom was Jewish, and so I had some tolerance, acceptance, and love for like yeah, I deeply love that girl, like well, a woman now, but um, yeah, she was a Jewish girl in the middle of redneck Christian. Like I don't think we had a Jewish temple. I don't know. I mean, I didn't know any other Jewish people in that town, just her, and I didn't even know she was when I started dating her. Not that it mattered, but I mean, yeah. Anyways, I digress. The whole point is communication, lack of patience, and misunderstandings. That causes almost all of the problems. If we could get past that, and I will say the liberal left is actually very guilty of this, but at the same time, Fox News is guilty of playing it on a loop to anger people. But when people just see people at face value, like, oh, you're MAGA, so then automatically you hate gay people. And that's like one of the biggest things that a lot of my friends, they're so stressed about trying to explain. It's like, no, I don't care. LGBTQ, that's fine. Just don't try to shove it down my throat. Like, I mean, if you want to be that, that's fine. Go ahead. And I feel like I'm talking just like them all the time. Because that's how and that's some projection there too. Like, they're projecting that out, like saying, because they know that it's such a sensitive topic and they're so used to people having an unfavorable response to anything that they say or do about that topic to where they just consign or resign to say, okay, whatever, this. That's all we can expect from people. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all people with all our own problems that we're trying to solve, and they don't just go away. On Tuesday, oh yeah, no, I don't have to worry about making an income, keeping a job, like, not getting all of these things that the propaganda on Fox does perpetrate, but there is some truth at the bottom of a lot of it. So then it's like, and all it takes is just for one little time to be like, oh wait, see, that was true, and then automatically all the faith gets lost. Like that's human nature to see that. Specific point on that, there's a meme that's going around that um, it says, the teacher wrote 8 or 9 questions on the board correctly, and then the 10th question she got wrong. And it's like, and then the class laughs and points this out. And then the teacher says, right, but I did these 9 problems correctly, flawlessly. Do I not get some praise for that? Or, what's the deal with that? And then, we're so quick to point out when someone does something wrong, but yet we fail to recognize when someone does something right. And that's so true. I've seen that on bumper stickers, memes, all sorts. The original meme, bumper stickers. We used to put memes on our cars, so then when we're stuck in traffic, commuting to jobs which are now becoming more hybrid and more remote, because we're realizing, wait, it costs a lot of resources, time, money, gas, and energy, and my mental health to make it to work and back. Like, and even that one TikToker that got a lot of flack for that, and she said in it like, I know that it's supposed to be this, and I know this and that, and like, but still it's hard, and it's like, and you can't really know until you're experiencing yourself, like what the deal is. It's foreign to you. So, and again, I will say that almost everybody in the world is exactly the same. That people will people. And I have, like in just 1 year, I traveled to Dubai, India, Spain, Belgium, all these people, and I'm going to be going to a lot more places now. That's not open invitation like, oh, let's go break into his house. I have a lot of CIA friends too, and FBI, and blah blah blah, and blah 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 blah. Plus renter's insurance, so even if you did, I'd just get all my stuff back, and you'd go to prison. So, well, maybe not prison. Maybe you do the thing. Maybe you pay it back, but I don't want to deal with that. Plus, if I'm home, I might accidentally kill you because I'd attack somebody that broke into here and be like, boom, you want to come, be feeling so violated. Anyways, uh, sorry, I'm always thinking about how bad can things get. Like, if I say this, how bad does it get? Also, we need some, as I start to do that, we're trying to do the crops. Let's do that over there. For that, we need some dirt, maybe. Well, I started. Let's go ahead and clear this up. But anyways, projection. I keep saying that, and that is like a real psychological thing about the way we think, is we tend to project our insecurities onto situations or people. And by that, I mean, if we're in a situation, like at the store or wherever out in society, and, well, the easiest one is racism. Say you get pulled over and you're a black person, or what could be considered black. Like, I'd say darker skinned. I mean, I feel like we could say darker or lighter and just assume that everybody is some kind of gradient of dark and light. Like, because white people aren't white. We're not walking around like we've got white out all over our faces. We're not a bunch of juggalos, which, like, I mean, which is another subgroup of people that are fed up with other people that may or may not act as what they understand. A lot of it's communication and understanding. Like, oh, wait, those people aren't really like that, but it seemed like they were. Anyways, say you get pulled over and you're a black person or a darker skinned person. Automatically, there might be some projection. You might be shorter with the cop. You might be more impolite to them and be like, hey, I already know you're going to blah, 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 blah. And like, so I'm going to be a jerk to you. And then the cops walking up, like, might even be considered one of the more, like, understanding, open-minded, and, like, less racist people on the force. Well, then they become a little more racist when you do that. Because then they're like, wow, that's going to happen? And especially if it happens time and time again. You pull over 10 people of darker skin versus 10 people that would be considered a lot lighter skin, and the lighter skin people are really pleasant to deal with because they're not afraid of getting killed. Like, and there's all of these factors to it, but it's important to understand all these factors. Otherwise, we're just making assumptions, and the if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of mentality. Like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, oh, they're not being racist. They have black friends, or oh, because our brains can only handle so much, especially with all the nonsense going on in the world. There is a lot of it, and so let's get some bone meal. So, and I've experienced that. I've been pulled over many times, and it's been a pleasant experience almost every single time. In fact, one time. No, I'll go into some detail with some of that at a future date. Not now, not now. But sorry. Well, my point is, it's just because I'm a white male, I'm a light-skinned male, I have the easiest time in society. Now, not the easiest overall in the world, but my type, my body type, is automatically. Now, if I was born in like, California and Hollywood, and like I had wealthy parents or something, that's like the ultimate privilege and spoiled and all that blah 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 blah, because they don't understand that there's problems out there that they need to solve, or that they're even causing accidentally. That's one of the biggest ones, is people cause problems accidentally just from not knowing and having it communicated to them effectively, to the point where they might cause some problems, might cause some people to be awkward, might, impose more stress on people. Basically, assault, mentally assault people. It could be considered that. Or even just being racist accidentally or intentionally, or just being judgmental, or any of the things. It's all possible because communication or lack of it. I don't know. And I think that's just we're starting to realize that too. That's why we're kind of being more patient with others. And the more we humanize other people from other cultures and other societies, then we start to understand, like, oh yeah, they're just people. They're just out there trying to do the same thing I'm trying to do. You know, I'll cut them a little more slack, or I'll be a little more patient with them. And now, that also is directly affected by how much food did you eat that day. Did you have a good hearty breakfast? Could you afford the time and money to do a breakfast? Like, and if the answer is no, then you might be a little more racist. So you might be a little more judgmental. And whether intentionally or unintentionally, you might be a little more of a problem that day. Now, granted, that all starts off with, well, I didn't have breakfast. Maybe I didn't have time, or maybe I slept in. Maybe I'm still tired from the night before. And that affects a lot more people that have to work the more typical grunge jobs, or like well, nope, and that's actually it for this one. Let's see. Whew, getting a lot of things covered today. So, ta-ta for now. I will see you in the next one.